All right. I wanted to do a video today based on what I look for on Market Profile. And for fun, I felt like doing this on the euro today. We could basically go over several market profiles. It could be the ES and the NQ a bit later. I want to start with the euro just to give you guys context. If you see my screen here, I've got the euro with the market profile. So basically, I'm using Sierra charts for my profiling, and I use Jigsaw, which is right here, for depth of market for the dome. I rarely trade the euro. It's not one of the instruments I like to trade, but I do trade gold, euro, ES, NQ. Uh, it's been a while I haven't traded crude. It's just that um, it's so volatile, and you really have to have a good eye for it. And with all that negative prices that have occurred in March, I'm not really into the crude futures for a while since March now, and basically not had a lot of good results with crude. So that's why I kind of avoid trading it now. I think having ES and NQ and from time to time gold as instruments to trade, I think I'm decently okay with those instruments. So basically here on the euro, let's just dive in. This is the market profile once again. I'm just looking at zones where, the way I trade, I look at single prints, and as you can see, there was a decent single print right here. Um, this area for me will be important going forward, and I like to identify my time price opportunities, the TPOCs basically, the most amount of time at this price on this day was traded. And as you can see, going forward into the overnight, that price was respected. I like to see how price is reacting at these levels. So if you look at an example here for today's trading, let's just erase that and maybe do a new one. So here, this is just an extending triangle. I like to put it this way. It's just quickly visual for me. These are little ways you could set this up on Sierra charts. So this price, again, I think the scaling is not all that accurate, but you have the price here with my rectangle. This price is going to be important for me. It's the most traded price as of today, May 28th. And we have single prints here. Single prints are basically, the way I could basically explain this to you is a shift of demand and supply at a level, and this level basically becomes important for most traders. Basically, the singles here are levels where I want to see how market is reacting to these areas. For me, a single print is an area where we have at least 4 TPOs, at least four candles, 30-minute candles. These are 30-minute candles on the market profile. You've basically got um, levels where you've got letters. Each letter represents a 30-minute time frame. So another single print. As you can see, the way I would have looked at this market today, which I did not trade, but it's just basically give you a bias and a nuance of what I look for on the profile. When we had basically went over this area, we traded 1, 2, 3, 4 candles above this area. I was going to say, okay, we got a day where mostly longs are preferred. You don't want to be shorting when we have single prints not being retested like this, which means that single prints are not closing. This is a demand zone that basically was basically defended. Buyers are very aggressive. Same thing here. Now, if we come to this level here, as you can see, the single print here was created. We had at least 4 TPOs, four time frames, 4 candles that traded above it. So this just basically for me confirms that the validity, that this area is valid basically, and that this level is important. Um, Sorry, I've got this wrong here. I'm just gonna put this back. All right. So my coloring is I have colorings that are basically my way of visualizing what I'm seeing. Um, so this single print here basically says that the market's respecting this whole zone, and we've had at least four TPOs, four time frames that have traded above it or under it. It's just a zone where you basically want to follow the trend. You don't want to play against this. You don't want to counter trade this unless we get at least 4 or 5 TPOs under this zone. That's where I would say, okay, this area is now becoming support. Sorry, this area is now becoming supply, and these guys who bought at the highs, they're gonna probably bail out, and that could create a bad flush down. This is exactly what occurred in the markets today. So if you just push to ES, this is the ES. It's a quick way to show you guys. We had at least 4 TPOs above the single print. We had a single prints in this area that got failed because C broke out of A and B's range, but D came back into it. So we had like a zone here where, this zone here where the singles failed. Then we had singles failing here. So this is just a way of saying that, okay, it's like buyers are here, but sellers are coming back and retesting every time. So it's kind of like losing momentum. That's how you have to look at this. Nothing really complicated. This area, we had new singles. We got all the guys coming in, the bulls coming in late. And as soon as this area was given up in L, I said to myself, seeing this profile, this volume profile here, again, nothing is perfect in trading, but once you see a volume profile and we break the edge of it, and we've had good buyers coming in trying to hold this up. These guys could flush very quickly. This happened so suddenly that I don't think anyone was really expecting this, but we had low volume today. Generally speaking, low volume days, a lot could happen in the market, so that's a little nuance. With experience, you kind of understand how that works out. So as for today, on the ES, what I noticed is that the point of control, which is the TPOC, the time price opportunity, was up here at the beginning, so I had that in blue, and then came back here, and it actually closed lower. This just shows how important uh, time and development is when it comes to the markets. Generally speaking, a level that does not get retested or the market doesn't spend a lot of time in that area, these areas, either the same session or a couple of sessions later, always get retested. So one way of looking at this is, now I've jumped from Euro to ES, but now I want to jump to NQ just to give you guys context, okay? Look at NQ. Nasdaq is an instrument that loves to retest its previous time price opportunities, team box. So all these blue areas are, look at them. I mean, if you were a technical analyst, you would not even see these zones because you would be like, okay, this is support, this is resistance, basically I use these as targets and also filters to see what the market is doing. When the market is so mechanical like this, uh, how you call him, Dalton, I'm going to call him the father of market profile. He likes to see the markets mechanically and also active and passive buyers and sellers. I mean, look, not to complicate things, he'll say that the market is very mechanical when the market comes back and retests certain areas and to the tick, he calls it. I mean, look, who cares if it's mechanical or if it's not mechanical? The whole point is to see what occurs in markets 75 to 80% of the time. How are you able to put this into playbook trade setups that you could time in and time out use for your trading? TPOC, time price opportunity, was this area from a previous day. Yesterday's session was at this level. I have it in black here. So having this in black, for me, it's just my way of filtering it. I was going to say, look, we've got a bullish bias to the market. It's been trading above this area overnight. We came not even into it. I mean, I think buyers had the edge once again. And this is previous TPOCs from previous sessions. I just expand them out. Market comes and trades to it at the tick. Again, if you want to buy there, if you want to lean on a zone, look at that. Market opens lower, comes back, boom, and we fly. Same thing, closes above it, which was a great way of saying, look, I'm not going to say this is a very bullish close, but this just shows how mechanical the market could become. This is a single print here, 94.91. Market closed below this area several times in the past, so I have it in red. Wanted to show that, and I said to myself, if the market FNQ Nasdaq closes above this area, and I have this arrow here because it had a single print that had occurred during the day, so that's what I was going to explain earlier. This single print, basically, you see in my green, we had at least 4 TPOs, at least 4 candles above it, got developed, and market closed below that. So market probably rejected this 94.95 to 95.12 area in Nasdaq. So this is not very bullish, but again, it's not super bearish either, because I think the way I see this is the Nasdaq is going to probably trade between this level. Oops, what am I doing here? Sorry. So Nasdaq is going to probably trade between this level. What's my thing doing? My cursor's not doing what I want it to do. Sorry, got this all wrong here. Between this level. Why is it not wanting to? I think I've got my thing doing wrong. So let's just put it this way. Okay. This level, and I believe this area is going to be important. So at least I have a bias that is not super neutral, super bullish or bearish. It's neutral. I want to see this level hold. I want to see this area hold. Whatever occurs above this, watch for footprint and order flow to give me signals to come back down. And be nimble, not trying to be too aggressive. Trying to avoid trading in the middle of this. That's my scenario with Nasdaq. So this is the way I look at the profile, and I think a lot of traders overcomplicate it. Market profile is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all these letters, and then you've got the profile with the volume. High volume nodes, Nasdaq loves to respect high volume nodes. So the area where I would like to, let's say today, which I basically didn't get the short here, but I shorted this area here at the beginning of the day, because this was a previous TPOC, a POC, which is again time price opportunity. I shorted this area in B period to, let me look, B period short here. I want to look at 10, 15, 20 ticks, 10, 15, 20 points, name it, target it. A, B gave good volatility. And when I started seeing that we were basically holding above this area several times, as you can see now, the market just opened, and Nasdaq opened just below that previous area. If we want to go back, we can look at the ES after. So this area basically meant for me in the morning when I shorted the B period, got a nice short trade here, and then as soon as I saw C break and D come back in, I didn't really do much around C with the initial bounce and all that. I didn't do anything there, but I mean, seeing this market structure holding above this area meant that it probably wants to go higher, and it definitely did, and we got singles here and singles here. But as soon as we start getting multiple signals, this is just basically FOMO, fear of missing out, and all these guys got trapped. And then once we started breaking this level on this period, that was time to not look for longs, because I thought that this could be a good bull trap. If we go back again, just to show you how accurate these things are, Again, I don't really like to look at holidays because this was a holiday in the US, and small ranges and all that. Don't pay attention too much of that. Um, Again, here, this is previous TPOC, this blue line that I have here. If I can just draw it that way, put my colors in. It's easier when you color code it, And let's just look at that. That's 9,400 ish, let's say. Look how the overnight came and retested that area here and went down. I mean, it's very mechanical. It's very easy. This next day, we close above it, close near that level, and again, many times you could have shorted this area, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have shorted those areas because as soon as we start getting a good uh, 4 or 5 candles above certain areas, it gets a bit more tricky. I mean, look, trading is all about edges. You want to make sure that you're trading with an edge where you know that this kind of structure, look, this came back, retested this many times. Um, Market profile nuance would say, okay, we have, uh, what is this? At least 2 ticks here, so it was not a poor low. It was okay. Um, Market profile nuances. I like to put the excesses here because these red areas were excess areas from previous day and an excess. I don't have an example here, but again, these are different areas that I looked at, singles that failed in the past, and the market came back into those areas, floated around those areas. The profile, the market likes to retest certain areas from previous days. Look at this, a previous POC here, and overnight, man, this trades many times above this area, comes back into the same area where we had singles from a previous day. It respects these areas like almost to the tick. And when we broke this level and we started trading 1, 2, 3 times and we you know, retested this area, this was not good for longs. It was a good time to maybe not look for longs. Again, context and experience will give you good scenarios. This is a day here, May 12th, where, man, that was really a weird day. I remember this day. Market traded above here 4 or 5 times, was not able to. I mean, look, would you be buying every dip here? Maybe, maybe not. But when you see that a lot of um, participation occurred above this area and we started cracking down, that was a signal to not look for longs. That was a signal to say, okay, these guys are maybe trapped and this thing is going to flush down. So I want to copy the profile that I have here. Oops, I did not get that right. There we are. So that's TPOC, time price opportunity. All right. So here I have Jigsaw, which gives me the dome. As you can see, we've got live data here. I've got 2 positions on. I was leaning on this 30.27. I'm just going to go and put my stops again. I think I do have stops here, but let's just put them here. These stops, just protective stops. And I also saw good, uh, how can I say, there was some participation here at 38, which I didn't really like, but what I could do is maybe I could put one order to sell at 38, and just to be, although I still want to lean long on this, and I've got a decent gain here, let's put at least one to sell at 400 in case we do get a flush down in this overnight period, just to protect gains. And you know what, let's just do it that way. We'll delete this. So that's my 2 trades that I had on the ES today, which came out to be very profitable. If I was to basically resume just to show you guys what this is all about, so I used Sierra charts for the profile, and this is Jigsaw Dome, adaptive market, where I want to see the order flow that is basically live, what's going on. this is the tape. It's called the reconstructed tape. Jigsaw has features where you could put power meters to see short term who's in charge. Is it the sellers, the buyers? And here, short term, this is a 10-second meter where at the last 10 seconds the sellers were in control. And then I've got a 30-second and a 2-minute where I filter out the blocks and the trading. Kind of have the same thing for the Nasdaq. So if let's say you just gonna see here what kind of order flow we have here. It's very slow. Look, this is 6:06 p.m. Eastern. Not really willing to take any positions, but just for fun, if we were to just, again, I'm here to show you guys. If I was to buy stop here on the Nasdaq, and let's just say I was planning to put a sell order once that. Okay, now it's pretty slow, so I don't want to put any positions on just to have fun. But as you can see, this is the profile, market profile, volume profile that is developing. That's included in the dome. So that's why sometimes I'll just have a chart to tell me the most recent auction that's occurring. And as you can see, Nasdaq's been going down a bit here, and nothing heavy. But I mean, I've got stops for my ES. This is my profile. You could reset the meter, so the all this just got disappeared. I just reset my last trades. This is the micros that I have on. Like to make uh, basically my dome to have the micro ES, the regular ES, and the NQ. Generally like to trade the ES and the NQ, and maybe avoid trading the MES in most cases. Um, just because I think, I mean, I kind of look, we've got 20 buyers here that just stepped up, and now here we are. You can see that the buyers are coming in. Some blocks are coming in. It's overnight, so this gets tricky overnight sometimes. This is the delta showing you how buyers just took control here. I think I'm going to be filled on this. Let's see if I can get out. Don't want to sell there, and I want to see what goes around this here. Ah, you see I should have sold. Let's just put a sell order right there. I sold one, and I have a stop here. All right, so that's fine. We just made some decent cash there. I'm just gonna put a order here. Look, I don't want to be very how can I say this, greedy here, but I think I've made a decent day today, and I'll take one ES contract with a stop here. Maybe move the stop to at least $100, and if it gets filled, it gets filled. I don't really care about the rest. Yeah. I just felt that this 3027 was a great opportunity to buy at the close, which was exactly what I did. Had two contracts left and left the two runners, just close one now, and we'll keep one at this level. Nothing else to do. But you see here in the blocks, we've got sellers coming in. What is that, 37? Okay, let's see. 37 sellers are coming in. Nothing serious on price action, but as you can see, the sellers are definitely taking control. So if I wanted to see what's going to happen, I would just reset this. Let's see if sellers could still continue the momentum. Once again, buyers coming in, but they got trapped there, boom, and sellers are taking control. That's how simple it is, but again, takes, oh, you guys see all that blocks that got 67 sold at 33. I think my stop is going to be hit here, and I think my trade is over. There we are. So look at that. Wow, that was pretty heavy. Again, just want to get this running for maybe a couple of minutes just to see if that 3027 is an area that is holding. As you can see, 3028, we've got big guys showing some size there. That's why the dome is so important, to see what occurs at specific price levels. This is a market. Oh, this is sorry. This is the footprint of the last 11 minutes, showing us that the delta is negative now. I could reset the current trades just to see what's going on. Buyers are coming in, buyers are coming in. Oops. You see buyers are coming in, but they're not really pushing prices higher. The only time I would want to add to this position maybe really would be if we get to that 3027 area, which I think was a good area to buy at the close. Just, to see if that was going to work. But look at this. The buyers are coming back, and looks like they're willing to give a good. You see, I could hit this here, clear current trades. That clears that. And if I clear total trades, it clears that here. So that's a way of clearing the information. I generally don't like to clear this area, but it's all good. Nasdaq, we haven't looked at it, but you know, Nasdaq is a bit trickier, a bit more volatile. You really need to spend time to look at the Nasdaq and basically have screen time and experience with it because it's a bit more trickier. It could jump 5, 10 points very quickly, and that's where you want to develop an area where you want to lean on. I'm not saying that I would have done this, but let's say the 35, I would have seen this, the buyers at this level here. I would have probably looked at buying this just to see if that area holds. And we clear all this out. It jumps 4 or 5 ticks. The spreads get really tough with NQ sometimes. That's where you want to know when to trade and when to not trade. And this is only with screen time, and again, experience will only show you. Uh, Time will basically tell you when to trade and not trade the NQ. We're 13 minutes into the overnight session here on May 28th, and I believe the market will not come to retest this 2027 level that I wanted to see. You see, that's how it is. Look, the buyers took 50 here and nothing traded on the bid side here. So market likes these prices. The buyers are willing to buy and absorb. Um, what else could we look at? Let's just go back to my euro template. If you want to look at what I look at on a market profile scenario, again, let's just see if we could get some interesting stuff around here. Again, I am coming back from a market uh, technical analyst stuff that I used to trade, indicator based stuff, and all that is basically, it's tough to have an edge in all that unless you're super 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 disciplined, and you're willing to have periods where market goes against you and you take some losses and you bounce back. But long term edge with technical analysis and indicator based trading is pretty much not going to work anymore. So let's get to our euro here, the market profile with the overnight on the 25th of May. Overnight, because euro generally gets really volatile overnight because of Europe opening up. I'm in the Eastern time frames here, Eastern time zone. So basically, the euro is a good instrument to trade overnight. If ever you want to see the volatility, look at this. That's an overnight session in the euro. Maybe not the best volatility there, but if you look at that's decent, decent volatility. And then you want to go back and see another one, decent volatility here, decent volatility. So, also with euro and any kind of forex oriented strategies, I don't trade forex. I don't trade uh, the forex pairs basically. But if you want to trade like the forex futures of euro or any other forex pairs, you want to make sure that you're aware of central bank news and stuff. And if ever there's an announcement, always go and look at that, because it could get volatile and market could do stuff that might not look very accurate, or technically speaking mechanical stuff that might not occur, and you want to give it some time to play out before you want to take any trades. This is time price opportunity, control, TPOC, name it TPOC blue, I call it here. So let's just see. That was the day session. How did it work out? Let's go see how that area played out, and looks like that area again got retested. You see, that was a good resistance here. You know, where does market spend time? An area where market spends time will always act like a magnet. It could be a target, it could be an area to look for. Inflection point is a good word for that. So let's just look at the context here. May 20th, this area, which is 109,875. Overnight, held it perfectly. That day, we basically traded above it. Overnight held above it. And then we got a flush into the morning, into the next day. So that's where, like, oh my God, all these guys who bought above this, or bought below it, they're gonna flush. And we got single prints that came in, single prints that became supply areas. So this 109.76, if I just put it this way, let's go see what happened there. 109.26, and look at that red line. So many times how the market came into that area, held it here, and then below it, and held it, and then held it again. You know, these areas are inflection points. You want to lean on a bias at these areas. If ever the market trades below it, just get out, you know, reassess, look at it, and we've got single prints here from May 28th. And for the overnight, I want to see what market does around this level. So if it gets to this 1.1066, I might buy one contract to see if I could retest this level. And if it starts floating around here, I know that it's a range, and you want to play that range very carefully, because the most traded price was here. If we're basically trading below this area, let's say, it could basically trap these guys and whoever's planning to buy in this demand zone, and then flush lower, which is a very easy way to, you know, give yourself context, right? And let's see what the ES is doing. So it never came back to that 3027 area, basically. And buyers within blocks, I mean, 10, 20 blocks are very normal size blocks for overnight. The temporary flow is bearish, but the last 30 seconds and the last 2 minutes, I could say it's pretty balanced. Nothing really on any side. Nothing bearish or too bullish here. It's just basically balanced range play. That's crazy. That 30.38 and exactly the 27 is what I was looking at. It's like a 10-point range here that the market just wants to bounce off, basically, for the next maybe hour or two, because the Asian session will start in like 2 or 3 hours. So generally, the first hour or two, the first 30 minutes could become a bit more range plays in the ES. Uh, let's just go back to something that I was going to go over on the NQ. So this is the Nasdaq profile again. Let's see what it's doing. Look at the Nasdaq. Okay, Nasdaq is a bit more volatile, and I like to time the Nasdaq with ES. So I don't know if we could do it this way. Let's just put Nasdaq on one side. Maybe shorten this out just to show you, like, when you're looking at market correlations. And again, this is stuff that you develop with time and basically experience. Where's my ES? Sorry, I've got actually 3 screens and can find my profile here. All right. So quickly, context, right? Context is important. All right. So the initial context that I showed you guys at the beginning, what did we say? Between this level and this level. And it looks like that's pretty much exactly what the market's doing. Between this level and this level, right? My 27 and my 38, that level maximum, this the teapot here from the RHH session, I think the market will just basically respect this, right? if ever we trade above this and we start getting, bounces off this area, I think, okay, we might want to go higher. But then I look at the Nasdaq, and let's say the Nasdaq's also doing that. But if the Nasdaq's really, you know, respecting this area, doesn't want to trade above it, and is not able to get above it, I would be cautious on ES. And I have this other chart where I see what each market is doing. And to be honest with you, the best market indicator that exists, I think, is the Russell. I don't trade it, very low liquidity, but if you want to have a good bias on what's going on, so this is a relative percent change chart where I have this green here. It's the 10-year bonds. Bonds are up, gold is up, crude is up, ES, NQ, and R. If the Russell is leading down or up, believe me, you're gonna get good volatility that day. But if NQ is leading and ES and Russell is lagging, that's where it gets a bit more trickier. I haven't really looked at major correlations between bonds and gold, but there are stuff that you could look at, and I just like to use it to give me, like, if there's a major difference between ES trading really up, NQ trading really up, and I don't know, Russell is trading really down, got to be cautious just to, well, at least know that there is no correlation, or there is no real correlation to lean on. I also want to maybe go over my 30-minute, what is this? This is my 30-minute, I'm looking for my words here, 30-minute footprint on the ES. I actually have several 30-minute footprints on the ES. This is not the one I wanted to show. The one I want to show is, it's a new one, so I like it a bit different. Where is it? Anyway, I think I don't have it on here. Oh, where did it go? That's not it. Here's my 30-minute time TPO market profile. So each candle here is a 30-minute time frame. Other than that, what was I going to say? All right, here, 30-minute time frame. Let's just go back to the open. 9:30 Eastern open here. All right, so very quickly, nothing too complicated because there are various nuances to look at. It's easy to look at this in hindsight, but I mean, several stuff that I like to look at. The first 30 minutes here in the ES on this 28th of May was a breakdown that we had. Um, a lot of traders on the profile, or footprint traders, will look at stuff like absorption, where the market basically traded. If we could look at just identifying a couple of things that I would look at myself. Um, if we go back just to the lows, so let's say the market opened here, right? I don't know why I don't have my open highlighted here. I generally have my open price highlighted. Maybe it's not on this tier, but you can play with the studies here, and all that could be basically reassessed. Maybe I don't have it labeled. Oh, let's just label it. Why is it in opening? Give me 2 seconds here. Okay, that's my open price. Sorry. The yellow here is the open price, 30.43. That's where the market opened on this candle here. That's the 9:30 candle. So basically, once again, market profile is all about auctions. It's the auction market theory, where the market is an auction. You want to see where buyers come in, sellers come in. Or is there absorption at the lows? Is there absorption at the highs? Let's just dive in. Okay, quickly, nothing too complicated. When we came into this 30-30 level, which was the low of A period, because this is the first candle, the first 30-minute candle, which is an A period, this is B period, C period, right? A period. The most negative delta occurred at this level here, okay? We don't see it here, but because it's now overnight and my profile, it always updates at every session, I generally have the profile with the levels that have the absorptions. So if we look at this level here, this is the level that's trading now that has the most negative absorption, as you can see. And where is price? We're here, around this level. So this just for me means that this area, I'm just going to highlight it this way. This area basically is where we've got a range. That's how I see this. This is a range that has been trading the highest delta, the lowest delta, and we're below that range. So, temporarily bears are in control. This other footprint here gives me the pullback candle. So that means the pullback from the high has given negative minus 261 deltas, and the pullback from the low has given 258, which is a very purely balanced market. Okay, if we trade above this zone, bulls could get control. If we trade below this zone, bears could get control. That's my basic range analysis with footprint. All right. I don't pay a lot of attention to the deltas and the maximum deltas around here. At some point, it becomes too much information, and too much information is basically uh, tough to really act. Sorry, I got interrupted there. So basically, that's how I wanted to look at ranges when it comes to 30-minute bars. And just to give you like a short-term, I just have this 30-minute footprint on one of my screens just to give me like a glance of what's going on in the immediate term. This is a new candle that just opened here. So first 30 minutes, second 30 minutes here. As you can see, this is how you see buyers in control. Sellers can't take control. So this level was basically held, and that's where buyers took control. You know, that's a quick visual way of seeing order flow. Um, I just want to pinpoint little details. Unfinished auctions, unfinished business. These are market profile, how you call it, market profile wording that are generally used. I'm not sure if I saw any today, so I'm just going to scroll and see if we could maybe spot some stuff. Okay, unfinished auction. Not that I see anything here, but an unfinished auction is where we don't have an auction that is properly finished. This is properly finished. Basically, we had no more buyers coming in at the end. So basically, we had 32.0. That's a good auction that ended. Good auction, great auction, and just go see the lows. A 0 here means no more sellers. Sellers were shut off. Sellers exhausted here. Here is an auction that did not end properly. The little detail with unfinished business and unfinished auctions is an auction is one-sided, right? So it goes up or it goes down. This auction ended properly. The candle was a low candle. This auction at the low here ended properly. The candle was an up auction. So we auctioned above. We went low, but we still ended higher, right? Here, the market came to this area, never auctioned lower, and did not properly end this auction. However, the important thing here is if this unfinished business was not revisited in the next candle, I always want to see this candle here, if it was a positive candle where the auction ended higher, I don't care about this auction here. I don't care if it's unfinished. For me, this is basically not an important area to lean on. the way unfinished auctions or unfinished business work is that, generally speaking, if we had an up candle here and this auction did not end properly, the next candle generally will come back to retest this area. If it's not in the next candle, it could be in the next candles in the next couple of time frames. Or sometimes in cases I've seen market come back and retest those levels in the overnight or even the next session. So don't just lean on an unfinished business being an area where the market has to absolutely come back and test it right away. It could be retested the next day. It could be retested in a couple of days. It could be retested in a couple of weeks. It's very, very, uh, there. I mean, the most amount of time it will be retested, but it does not mean that it has to be retested right away. You see here, there's a lot of red, meaning sellers were hitting the bids, right? So that's basically a lot of trade occurred on the bid side, bid side, bid side. Again, bid side, a bit more on the ask side, but mostly on the bid side, right? And then when the next candle comes back lower, this level never got retested. So this meant that selling was getting absorbed. So all these limit orders here, traders who wanted to buy at these prices were being a bit more aggressive, buying these limit orders basically, and the sellers were not able to get lower. That's just a way of seeing that, okay, maybe we've got sellers being absorbed, where I don't want to be too aggressive on the sell side. Again, it's easy to look at this in hindsight, but I like to really pay attention to those ranges in these 30 minutes. I mean, as long as this range is still being respected, for me, it's still bearish, right? And then in the next candle, we come back into that same range and we auction higher. So now I would say bulls are in control. So you want to look at this on a candle to candle analysis. Uh, this was the most amount of delta here. So we had a big range in this one, I think. Let me just see if we can. Oh, where is it? What happened here? Okay, so that's the range there. Next candle, when we trade, we opened here, auction higher, or I don't know what happened with the auction here, but we did trade lower, right? So that could have been an area to look at for shorts. And then as soon as this area developed, I want to see if the next candle we're able to trade higher than this area, which occurred here. Good time to buy, and it's just the way how is the auctioning occurring. Look at this area, look at this area, tighter ranges, and then wow, we had a bigger range here. So these guys probably puked, right? Again, this happened in the afternoon. This range became resistance. So if you were looking into selling the market, you wanted to really sell between this range here. Great. Sorry for that. I had to disconnect a bit and stuff. Making videos sometimes, and I don't want to make it too complicated, and I don't want to make it too professional and start editing and doing all that and wasting a lot of time. I think the whole purpose is to basically share and you know uh, show others and teach, and kind of like um, show the passion for trading and how trading is a journey, and not everyone will understand and apply methodologies the same way. And not every person is fit for trading, and not every person will have the exact same time frame to learn things. So it all depends on what kind of personality you are. And I generally like to explain to several traders that being too analytical is not a good thing for trading. You really want to see what occurs most often, what trade setups and what playbooks you could create, and what are things that you should be looking for, and kind of base a bias off these things. And the only time and way you could really have a good feeling for that is screen time. You need time and dedication. I would say at least spend 1 to 3 months just looking at how market works, observe market structure, like really look at what is a good moment to trade and what is not a good moment to trade, what's price discovery, where is my edge as a trader. And I, you know, I scale into some positions. Basically, sometimes I could say max contract sizes I would go up to is like 10, 15 contracts, no more than that. But I want to restrict my trading to 1 to 3 contracts, because I think that's the most strict way of really understanding the exact order flow at the moment. Um, for order flow, you need time, you need to really experiment, and it's not obvious. A lot of people will think that, okay, I just see buyers coming in, I'll just buy. I'll see sellers coming in, I'll just sell. It's a bit more nuanced, a bit more uh, difficult than that. It's not that easy to basically just trade off those buyers coming in and sellers coming in. As you can see here on my 30-minute footprint, sellers are coming in and they are being a bit more aggressive. They are trading below this range that I had on the previous candle, on the previous 30-minute candle. So this is Sierra charts, and I don't trade off Sierra charts, but you see sellers just exhausted here. If they come back into this area and I see that sellers are not able to, you know, they're not able to expand, I think the market wants to come back and test this. Let's just see on, let's just see this on a dome. So basically, let's put this set aside. Okay, so this is basically not what I wanted to do. This is the NQ, the dome on Jigsaw. This is Sierra charts. I have basically 2, 3 screens where I have all this next to each other, and I just don't have it the exact way. But since I'm recording on this screen, I just want to show it to you guys. So let's do it this way. NQ is doing that. Sorry, ES is here, and I have ES and MES here again for the dome. So if we look at the NQ, I just want to show you guys the relative chart. NQ is really leading down, okay? So let's just not forget that. Sellers exhausted here, right? So let's just reset, boom, reset all this, all right. And we've got a fresh new look at what's going on right now. Okay, right now we have, you know, short-term buyers or sellers are in control. Same thing on the Nasdaq. So I mean, I don't want to be a buyer right away, but okay, there's a way of like recentering all this with NQ, sorry, with Jigsaw. So NQ is leading a bit higher. When you recenter, that's my center line here in the weight line. And sellers did exhaust, so they were shut off, maybe even absorbed at these levels. And if we just want to maybe scroll this a bit here, what we were looking at was this level on the ES, where if I just increase it this way, do it this way, here we are. So that's this area here, right? You could box it out basically like this. Okay, let's see what happens in that area if price comes back into that area. All right. So basically, Nasdaq is a bit stronger here, but I mean, look, overnight, the volume is not representative of what occurs really on the regular trading hours. But as you can see now, sellers are coming back in, and I think sellers are actually a bit more aggressive. So seeing this kind of, you want to be cautious on the buy side. And I mean, every time prices come up, big blocks come in. This is where you filter out what's going on. You have the context here. The context is telling you that sellers did exhaust into this area, but I mean, buyers are not able to lift the delta here. This is a quick way of seeing that from on this from the highs here, we've had negative delta into this area. And from the lows, every time we made a new low in this candle, we have very poor uh, positive delta, which the buyers are not able to get good control. So this delta always resets as soon as we make a new low, and this delta would reset as we make a new high. At the moment, I don't see buyers being very aggressive. Clearly, sellers got exhausted in this area. Exhaustion means we had 161 sellers, 78 sellers, and 28. So the size on the bid is generally going lower, and vice versa. The size on the asks at the highs are going lower. So we have exhaustion at the 38s, and we've got exhaustion at the 33s. So we've got a 5-point range at the moment. I just want to see if what occurs in this area. This is my range where we had the most amount of buyers and the most amount of sellers in this area. I want to see what occurs between 35 and 36. Let's see. If we come back, I mean, again, no real selling occurred on the block side recently. That's why this block meter here is pretty balanced, very gradual tilt to the buy side, and buyers are coming back in. Let's see how this occurs in this area. Let's see if we want to play it here. All right. Again, I'm not being very aggressive here. Just didn't do the right thing here, but if we clear this and let's see if the sellers could come back in a bit more. Let's see if we could sell some on this side here. Let's just play it around these levels. Retest of 33, all right? Let's see if we can get a retest of 33 first. I'm gonna sell into this. This is the micros, so I'm just playing the micros with this area here. Unfortunately, maybe we probably missed a good entry to short again in this area. This was again the area that we were looking at, and I think we might get filled here. Let's see. Uh, no decent deltas increasing here. We want to reset the meters, reset the trades. Let's just recenter all this. Nasdaq, nothing around there. ES is coming down. We've got the micro. So let's say I had basically shorted the ES. I would have had a couple of ticks here, just to be very cautious. And I'm not gonna close this trade right away, but I'd love to retest the 33s. But I mean, I'm willing to sell a bit more in this area if we do get there, but the way it looks like buyers are not showing up here. So short-term buyers are not showing up. Let's see if anything occurs here, but that's pretty much how I look at the markets. You see that zone definitely worked out. Uh, if we were to sell, that was the area there, and then in this candle, this area was maybe the area to look for shorts. I mean, if you put it that way, seeing this exhaustion, it was a good area to really look for a good short. You know, Same thing with imbalances. A lot of traders will look into that. A lot of them, I'm not going to call them newbies, but order flow traders will look into you know various stuff. And what's an imbalance? Let's just look at an example. I don't think I have my thing here showing the imbalances. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing the imbalances here. So anyway, quickly, if we see an imbalance on the buy side, I'm going to show you. Okay, no, that's not. So here, 147 sold at this level, and then we had 267. So that's like a 1-to-1, right? Most of the time, imbalances are like 300 times, 400 times. So if we had 147 here, and then we had like 500 on this side, that's an imbalance on the buy side, right? And the same thing for the sell side. Here, there's not really a good example, but just gonna have to show it to you guys manually. 46, and then 327. We have at least four, more than 5 times, 6 times the imbalance here. That's a sell imbalance, you see. So that could have been a sign to say, okay, sellers are coming in, right? And then there's nothing decent here, and then I said nothing decent there, nothing decent there on the sell side, if you look at the imbalances. So that's pretty much just for the imbalances. All right, so what's our ES doing? It's still in that area. Nothing. I'm going to show it to you guys quickly. I want to make these videos not more than an hour, so that's why at the same time I'm just uploading them on YouTube. So basically, if you guys like this kind of content, basically go ahead and hit the button there. You see sellers, look at that, the sellers just showing up at that level, unbelievable. Uh, so as you can see, that level really became good to hunt shorts, eh? And there, buyers got trapped at that 35. 80 traded at that level, nothing traded on the other side. So I'm gonna just take a note there. So with Jigsaw, you could actually take notes. So this is what, 30, 35, buyers trapped. You can take notes like that. And we had a decent push down. Just gonna keep two stops there. I just don't care about this trade. It's just for demonstration purposes anyway. So I don't want to lose money, but if ever it comes here or here and I'm able to ride this, well, I'll make 30, 40 bucks down on the micros. I don't really care about that. So I mean, this is 6:57 p.m. Eastern. We're not gonna have a lot of volatility at this time. Uh, this is basically not going to be the best time to trade. One thing I like to do is just make sure that I don't have any trades going on, and nothing triggers short or anything. I like to put my stuff back to regular, you know, nothing live. Always delete and always cancel my orders before I close the screen. This is important because you don't want to have trades go off, and it's happened to me so many times where I've had a trade go off and I was not in front of the screen, and you see sellers got trapped at that level here, and we've got buyers trapped at that level. So we've got basically a good way of filtering it out, but I think sellers are still in control, and now the tape is getting a bit more bearish gradually. Um, that's how you use Jigsaw with the tape and powder meters. Again, all this is customizable. You could customize things here, and you could basically, you know, um, look at what you want and what works for your trading, and that's pretty much it. So again, if you guys like this content, the context here and the content, just go ahead and send me a message or uh, email me. Go on my YouTube. That's my Twitter. So you guys want to send me private messages. If you guys want to get some help when it comes to you know activating your accounts and going ahead and building chart books and looking at different charts and styles. Take the time to, develop, take the time to analyze stuff, and, at least 1 to 3 months just to see how patterns occur, how market structure functions, the profile, the volume profile, what works, what doesn't work, what you want to look for, single prints, time, price, opportunity, the TPOC, um, what, how NQ, how ES, how do they relate to the other markets, the correlations between them. It really takes some time to really develop all this, and I hope these videos could help. I'm coming back. I'm coming from a background where I traded technical analysis as an advisor, and this used to really work great. And at some point, everyone was basically thinking that that was the holy grail. And for me, it was just all about context, what's going on, wanted to understand that before, and market profile helped a lot. You need to really look up Dalton Stottlemyre's books and to really observe and at least understand all the little nuances and all the little um, you know little details of the profile to make sure that you understand everything, and then you want to apply all that to what your style of trading basically. And hopefully with order flow and footprint, when you attach that into market profile, all this will start making sense. And you need to give yourself time, dedication, and you need to have the passion for this. I love trading. Trading is definitely a passion, and you want to adapt, learn, and customize along the way. That's pretty much it. Enjoy your day. Thanks for the video. Thanks for the support. If you guys could look up my information, my Twitter there, and all that, my contact information. Uh, give me a heads up, and we'll keep in contact. Enjoy your day.